What's up, everyone? Welcome to ClearTalk. Apologize for yesterday. Didn't get any videos done on any channels. Had stuff around the house that I needed to take care of. Other things that I needed to take care of. So, apologize for that. But we're here today, and um, first thing that we got to get out of the way is updating on the Middle East, since that seems to be kind of the big thing that's I think on a lot of people's minds and the concerns that we are being led into, a more aggressive and uh, worrying conflict in the Middle East with tensions and stuff continuously rising, rhetoric continuously getting more aggressive. It seems now any type of talks or uh, diplomatic, reasoning is seems to be out the door. So it's very concerning. So we're going to talk about all of that, and then uh, so if you are new here, thank you very much for joining me. If you are returning, you're amazing, awesome. Welcome back, and everything's on the screen there for if you want to check out other things or help support or whatever. So it's YouTube. You know what to do. Do the damn thing, and let's get to talking about the Middle East. Okay, so as I said, tensions have continued to rise. We are, I think, day 6 now, maybe day 7. Um, in attacks between Iran and Israel. Uh, Israel has continued to attack more facilities, attacking. The last I saw reported was they are claiming they have hit upwards of 200 ballistic sites, like sites in Iran that can, uh, launch ballistics or whatever, or even stockpiles possibly of ballistic missiles. How accurate that is, I'm not sure. Israel tends to kind of, be a little flamboyant with their numbers on what they do to people. And then what things are done to them, they seem to try to hide or make it not look as big. Um, so who knows how many they actually have hit, but that's the claim. There's been upwards over 200 people, somewhere between some claims of up to even like 700 people in Iran dead. I think the most official though is a little over 200, um, and with over 1,000 injured. Uh, we have in Israel, I think the number is still just like 24 killed, but there's hundreds and hundreds that are been injured. Uh, this is interesting that the past few days the number killed has not went up. I don't know if, but at the same time, the amount of missiles that Iran has been shooting has been decreasing. And the question on that is whether or not that's because of the attacks Israel has been doing. Whether they have actually dismantled some of that ability, or is Iran just sort of reducing stuff to try to somewhat de-escalate things, or are they just really reserving themselves for a broader attack if they needed to, like, they're trying to regroup things, and because of the fears and rhetoric that are coming out from Netanyahu, from Trump, from a lot of U.S. politicians that are just wanting to burn Iran to the ground. It is crazy the amount of people that are gung ho, which these are people that have been that way for years, even decades. I'm gonna probably even do a video, I think, here today that I'm going to refer to a video of somebody on Double Down News that talks about that and breaks all that down. That who's all the people that are behind this, and how the connections go back all the way to the Iraq War. It's very interesting. Um, but we have A lot of U.S. deployment is being made. Ships are being moved into the region. Uh, uh, Tankers, weapon, planes, everything. Is being moved over there. Uh, as if we are preparing for something bigger. We've had, evacuation orders being made on Tehran from from first from Netanyahu, and then Trump just completely just as he's been doing here lately, copying what Netanyahu says, and like everything Netanyahu says, or whatever. It's like he is controlling our political, like what our decisions in the region or something. Trump just completely goes along with everything and repeats them like a damn. Uh, uh, it's just it's ridiculous. It's like as much all this rhetoric from Trump that we are America first, America first, America first, and it's like we've talked before. It seems like it's more like Israel first, Israel first, Israel first. Because whatever Netanyahu wants, whatever Israel wants, seems to be what is being given. Um, and no matter what U.S. intelligence is telling him, I mean, Netanyahu has been spewing about the dangers of Iran for decades now, going all the way back to 1995. He has been, over and over again claiming that Iran was, going to get a nuclear weapon, and the fear of Iran getting a nuclear weapon, and that, they're going to, they're going to it's going to affect and cause harm to the Europe and the U.S. and everything. Like, he always involves everybody in it, and that's just such a danger. And they're just months and days and years away from it or whatever. Every time he talks about it, but yet here we are, 30 years later, and they still don't have one. They still don't have one. And I mean, our own intelligence was just a couple back in March speaking on this, saying that Iran was nowhere close to a nuclear weapon, that it would take upwards of 3 years before they uh, could potentially even have a nuclear weapon. That was stated by the wonderful Tulsi Gabbard or whatever. And then, but Trump was just asked about that a couple of days ago on his return back from the G7 summit, and he basically was like, "I don't care what she said. I think that they were, uh, the danger was there, and that they were getting very close. Just spewing the rhetoric that Netanyahu has been spewing. So it's the influence there is blatantly clear that he is not listening to U.S. intelligence, or doesn't care what U.S. intelligence says. He's just listening to those around him that are solely in bed with Israel and what they want. And that's what Israel and Netanyahu has been wanting forever, is for Iran to be just blown to smithereens. I mean, this is something that they have talked about and tried to do and tried to involve the U.S. in forever. So this is, which is the most concerning point to me, is that we're Trump is just not listening whatsoever. It appears to any kind of reason, and there's too many ears. I mean, too many people in his ears that are just warmongering, insane people that are just wanting to cause basically World War III. So it's very concerning. So what are we moving into the region? We have had U.S. naval ships and stuff being moved to the region. The USS Nimitz was redirected from South China Sea to join the USS Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea. These are, which is a rare thing for them to do there, destroyers such as the USS Thompson Hudner, the USS Arleigh Burke, USS Civilians, USS Cole, USS Belclay have all been stationed in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Red Sea. And then we have We have the those are naval interceptors. The naval like defense strikes. Um, the U.S. has assisted Israel by deploying land-based systems like the Patriot and the THAAD and all that. So that's all the stuff that they've been using for to try to shoot down missiles and stuff. We have air tankers and stuff that have been uh, delivered over to Europe and Middle East. We have let's see here. The biggest concern is also is that Israel has they've been trying to attack the nuclear facilities in Iran, and they've hit all the main ones, but the ones that I think the one that they particularly have had or feel that they have had little success in actually penetrating is Fordo. And these are the bunkers that are deep under the ground, and the only way to really hit them and destroy them are using heavy payloads, heavy bunker busting bombs, and the fear is that the only way in order to actually break into those at Fordo is to use the larger payloads that only the U.S. has capability of doing, and that's what is concerning because we've had U.S. B-2 bombers that have been deployed to that area as well, and those are the only bombers that can hold and drop the massive GBU 57A bomb, which is a 30,000-pound bomb. It's able to break into 200 plus feet of concrete. All right, these are the most powerful non-nuclear bunker busters out there, and that's us. We are the only ones. We are the only ones who have USB 2s. Israel does not have access to those. They do have access to some of our smaller ones that are more like 2,000-pound bombs, which we've talked about that they've dropped in Gaza or whatever. But we can only do that. We can only do the big ones. And what happens there is like they just like from my understanding, just a crazy ass like scene to see that where they will drop one in and it's just repeated over and over again until they have actually penetrated whatever they're trying to penetrate. It's just sink drop after drop after drop, explosion after explosion. And that's something that is concerning or and would be a most certain thing to pull us into the conflict. And that is something that I don't think anybody wants to see. I mean, that's right now the big issue in the Republican Party right now is the split and civil war going on over this. MAGA seems to be, from all I've seen, a lot of MAGA is pushing back on this, not wanting to go to war. I mean, Trump, has talked about this whole time that, that he's the one that stops wars. Doesn't create wars, he stops wars. And, all these wars that wouldn't have happened if he was president because, they just wouldn't have happened. The Ukraine and Russia, that wouldn't have happened if he was president. And even October 7th, that wouldn't have happened if he was president. But yet here he is president, and we have escalations of something of this going on, and all of his make a deal abilities, and he has been completely. I mean, what he has previously called other leaders that he has said would go to war because they were too weak to negotiate. Here we are. He is talking about going to war and providing assistance and direct U.S. like conflict, interaction in the conflict, because clearly he's too weak to negotiate. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He talks all this talk, and then he clearly can't back it up, and he is completely doing opposite of what he's said for years, that about other rulers and even about himself. So I mean, at this point, if you think that he is not capable, or that he's not a war, monger himself, then I don't know, you know, or that he's anti-war, or whatever. Clearly, he's not. Clearly, he's not. If he hasn't proven it before in his first administration, where he, you know, increased drone strikes and stuff by like 400%, doing killing Soleimani, or all the bombing of Somalia and everything else that they did during his first administration. If that didn't show you that he, had no problem with wars, if need be, then now what's going on should prove to you clearly that he is perfectly okay with a war. He just, he doesn't like the optics of it. He thinks it, looks bad, but if it has to happen, so be it. If people don't listen, and adhere what I say, because that's apparently what his deal is. That his make a deal is that he forces something on somebody, and if they don't do it, then all hands off. Because that's what he pretty much did with Iran. His so-called deal was trying to force them and push them into something that they would never adhere to, never agree to. Nobody would. I mean, and the thing is that he did exactly what we did in the first place. His whole argument is that Iran is not supposed to. We're not going to let them have a nuclear weapon. You can't have them have a nuclear weapon. We had an agreement that prevented them from having a fucking nuclear weapon. And he's the one that tore it up. He's the one that got out of it in his first administration. And then now he wants to try to get back into it, wants to try to, and basically the initial agreement that we gave them was damn near just the exact thing that we previously had with them. And just like the first time when he reneged on, our deal with them and pulled out, even though they were completely compliant to it, after giving them a, agreement, physically in person, then he turns around and throws around the rhetoric that Netanyahu was throwing around about, not accepting any type of, nuclear uh, uh, enrichment or whatever. And he turns around and spews the same thing and reneges on the deal that we give them. So because we renege on the deal that we have actually giving them, then suddenly that is Iran's fault. Suddenly they are the bad ones. Suddenly they are the ones that aren't doing the deal. Suddenly they are the ones that aren't, are not, good negotiators or whatever. And I gave them 60 days, and now it's 61, and they are not, they had all the time to accept it, and they didn't accept it. So blah blah blah. It's insanity. It's just pure insanity. And quite frankly, it looks more like to be just complete BS. That it was all a show, and that the intent that's happening now was the intent all along. It was like it's the same shit that Israel has been doing to Hamas in Gaza for almost 2 years now. The same shit that they have been doing to them over and over and over again, trying to force them into stuff that they would never agree to. And even once they're supposedly agreement, they turn around and move the goalpost, or act like they never did agree to it. Constantly breaking agreements, constantly I mean, we are doing the same shit now, in assisting with all of this conflict with Iran. We're doing the same thing. It's like we're trying to force everybody into agreeing to stuff that nobody would ever agree to. Nobody should agree to. And if they don't agree to it, then too bad. Now we're gonna get you. It's so now the concern for a broader conflict is broadening more and more and more. And now we're up to more and more threats Trump talking about how he knows where the supreme leader is and that he's safe for now, and we're not going to kill him yet, but uh, and we're not going to kill him, or right now, as if the threat is there that we are certainly going to, you know, do it at some point, or we could do it at some point. I mean, that's a leader threatening another leader. Just even that is disturbing rhetoric, and in no way, form, or fashion does that help to reduce tensions. And on top of that, even us going to in involving ourselves in a war is without congressional approval is illegal. It's unconstitutional. It is in our Article 1 revisement or whatever the Constitution that we are supposed to go beyond before the president is supposed to go before Congress to have approval for us to enter into any kind of war. But yet, here we are again. The argument is, or the what's being reported is that there's potential for signing an executive order for us to involve ourselves in the conflict. An executive order is not constitutional for us to be involved in a fucking war. But so just as he has done with every damn thing else in this administration so far, completely bypassing Congress on every decision, whether it be about immigration or agencies being shut down or whatever the case, he's completely just executive order, executive order to completely bypass all, Congress, just basically making them null and void. And here we are again doing it in this conflict. It is and Iran is over and over again stated, if the U.S. gets involved, all hands off, all hands off. And while I don't know what the capabilities of Iran really is, I don't think anybody really knows. Maybe they've been overstated. I don't know, but quite frankly, I don't want to find out. I don't think anybody really wants to find out. I mean, you are putting U.S. military people in harm's way for what? For Israel, solely for Israel and their maniacal, you know, uh, power grab or uh, realignment of the Middle East that they have been trying to do for decades. This is never about. This is never about a threat to Israel. This is never about them being, some kind of victims. This has always been about empirical land grabbing, power grabbing, dominance by Israel. This is what it's always been about for decades now. Wanting to control and uh, have ultimate power in the whole entire region. I mean, they have uh, been able to infiltrate almost every country in the region, like technologically, into government and stuff, and into business deals that have gotten them little bits of pieces of power and control in governments all around them. Where they are, times like this where they are completely, you know, going rogue on everybody, they still can have access to, runways in the UAE, runways in the Saudi Arabia, have, uh, uh, even other countries like Jordan helping to shoot down missiles and everything else, even though they have attacked Jordan themselves. It's the amount of power they've already wielded in countries all around them, just to have little bits and pieces of assistance here and there to carry out their crazy ass attacks on whoever they want to is already concerning enough. But ultimately, what they want to do is pull the U.S. into this, and Trump is just walking right into it. Um, the next 24 hours to 48 hours, I think, is going to be like all hands on deck, all eyes looking in concern. Uh, you have every country pulling people, trying to get people out of Israel. That's the other thing. I almost forgot about that. Israel has been trying to block people from getting out of Israel. Been trying to block U.S. citizens from leaving Israel. Now, most of these U.S. citizens are like dual citizenship people, but they're trying to block them from leaving, literally, because they are holding them, or wanting them to be there to help influence the U.S. to actually engage with them, to have as an incentive for the U.S. to uh, be involved if they need to be in protection of U.S. citizens in Israel. They're not allowing it, trying to block those people. Israel is using U.S. citizens as human shields. So you think Israel gives a fuck about U.S. citizens? You think Israel gives a fuck about U.S. period? They don't even care about their own citizens either. While they sit there and claim that Iran has been targeting, their people and stuff, instead of, while they've only targeted facilities in Iran. Um, I'm sorry, but Israel's military facilities are embedded in residential areas. Something that we've been talking about here for a while too. Israel literally uses their own citizens as human shields, just like they claim Hamas does. We just talked about that the other day in a video. They don't care. Their projection is off the charts. We are in. I seriously hope something happens. Uh, Something happens here within the next 24 to 48 hours that puts a stall or stop in this. But I'm losing hope. Uh, Supposedly on the table is for, I wanted to say Hexeth and the other guy that we use for negotiations. to be sent to Iran or be sent somewhere to have talks uh, with Iran or whatever, and try to. Trump said he could do that. I haven't seen yet where that has happened. If we do see that happen, um, then maybe something can pull us back from this. You know, we've already had the UN and EU and everything urging for, diplomatic practices, urging to reduce. Um, because the rest of the world seems to want this to stop, and for clear reason. But for some reason, the only thing that can stop it is the U.S. And Trump doesn't seem to be interested at the moment. Thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you think in the comments about everything. Do you think there's actually a threat of stuff escalating beyond what, you know, in involving us? Or do you think this is just a bunch of fear mongering and, you know, everything's going to be cool? And we're just, wasting our breath. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, peace. ClearTalk. I'm out.